Oh boy. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Our guest is Deb Beyhan, a group that advocates for kidney cancer patients and research. Deb is a kidney cancer patient herself, the patient legislative advocate for all KidneyCAN, a tireless worker who supports all KidneyCAN advocacy and projects. Deb has a fascinating kidney story. She was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer in 2016 at the age of 53, approximately 8 years ago. She has become the for KidneyCAN. She lives just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, with her husband. As the legislative patient advocate with KidneyCAN, she works tirelessly in support of all KidneyCAN events and projects. She shares her story, gives tips to patients, and is very passionate about kidney cancer research funding. She was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer at the age of 53. She was diagnosed incidentally following some symptoms. 8 years later, she's still undergoing treatment. This process is ongoing. At the beginning of her treatment, Deb entered a clinical trial when immunotherapy was just getting started. She was placed on a medication called Student, SUTENT, the control arm of the clinical trial. The control arm was monitored every few weeks, and in Deb's words, quote, "Student turned out to be the right drug for me," unquote. Early on, Deb was able to find support with not only family and friends, but also with others. She found a certain camaraderie with other kidney cancer patients. She has developed a special bond with patients. She discovered the Smart Patients Kidney Cancer community online and began to educate herself on all things kidney cancer. Deb believes that an educated person being an educated patient helps her to make good decisions and find the very best care. Through Smart Patients, Deb has met other patients online and in person. She has built meaningful relationships over the years. In the spring of 2022, Deb and two of her friends, Meryl, who has been on this broadcast, and Charles, made a video concerning their experiences living with kidney cancer. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, and I'm going to share the link with you so you can look it up if you choose to do that. Deb has discovered that she has a passion for advocacy with KidneyCAN. During one of her Smart Patients meetups, Deb met Byron Lewis, the co-founder of KidneyCAN, who told her about the lack of direct funding for kidney cancer research. Since that time, she has become a passionate research funding, talking to members of Congress and other members, reminds people that you may not be an expert in legislative matters, but you are the expert, unquote. As Deb always says, quote, "Right now I am living such a great life. I travel and see places I thought I wouldn't be able to see anymore." Please give a warm welcome to our friend, Deb Beyhan, who's with us tonight. Deb, how are you?
Hi, Jim. I'm good. I don't know if it's my computer, but you're going in and out a little bit, so I'm missing words.
Okay. I'll try to get a little closer to the microphone.
Okay, great.
Did I state everything correctly in the introduction?
You certainly did. You do your research.
I try. Please tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education experience, and your employment experience.
Okay. I was born in England. My parents are from Ireland, and they just happened to be in England, transitioning over to the United States when I was born. So I consider myself Irish, but I'm actually English. And I came over here when I was like 2.5. And, we started our lives in Detroit, Michigan. My dad was a journeyman as a pattern maker. He learned his skill in Harland and Wolff shipyards in Northern Ireland, where the Titanic was built. I have lots of relatives who actually helped build the Titanic. But I tease everybody that they screwed in all their bolts. They didn't cause anything. And I grew up in Detroit, went to Michigan State University, and met and married my husband. And for job reasons, we came to Atlanta about 34 years ago. And so Atlanta is now our home.
Okay. You're a married lady, correct?
I am married. I have one daughter, and she's recently married. She lives about 18 miles from me, but 45 minutes in traffic.
Okay. What is your husband's first name?
My husband's first name is Ahmet. He is Turkish. So my daughter is actually the first generation American in our family.
And your daughter's name?
Her name is Dennis.
Okay. Let's talk about your experience with kidney cancer. I understand that you were diagnosed with stage 4 kidney cancer in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Please talk to us about what your symptoms were that led you to this diagnosis.
Okay. And I think I'm kind of dark. Am I kind of dark? So
Sure, okay.
Okay. I was diagnosed in 2016 in the end of October. I had hematuria. That's the only symptom I had. And I was just kind of going through menopause. So I think maybe this is gynecological. I couldn't really tell. So I didn't think it was, but I'm going to go to the lady doctor. She immediately says, no, this is not. You need to go to urologist. A few days later, I went to the urologist, and he told me I had a tumor on my kidney that was 14 centimeters in length. And he said it was probably kidney cancer. Then I had to, do all the tests ahead of time, CTs and MRIs to find out if it was anywhere else. And then I took that baby out. In the meantime, he worked with the interesting thing, the urologist said that I probably had it for 7-8 years because it's a kind of slow growing cancer on most kidney cancers. And then when he took it out, my kidney function was still 100%. So that was basically telling him my kidney was already not functioning and my body was, just made up the difference with the other kidney. And so he said after 6 weeks after the surgery, he made an appointment for a medical oncologist. But in the meantime, my husband made an appointment with a medical oncologist at Emory University here in Atlanta, which is an NCI designated cancer center. So we went to both appointments. Obviously, the NCI designated cancer center was where we chose to go because there were many more options there. And, my community-based oncologist, I went in there. He didn't see very many kidney cancer. And the waiting room, it just felt like everybody was miserable and they all looked like they were dying.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to be in that room. So we went to Emory University, and my doctor, his name is Dr. Beyhan, wonderful man. he spent over an hour with me telling me the options that I had, and one of them was a clinical trial. And so I decided to go with the clinical trial, even though I eventually got randomized to the control arm, which is Sutent. It's an old drug. It's not really prescribed here in the United States as first-line treatment anymore. It was developed in 2007, but it's prescribed to kidney cancer patients all over the world who just do not have the same options we have in the United States. And I decided to stay with that because if I didn't choose it, I would have taken that drug anyway, because it was right when immunotherapy was starting. And actually, this was an immunotherapy clinical trial. So I was on it for 4 years. I eventually got kicked off because I had one met that actually just kept growing. And I had to get that radiated, and it never had another problem with that met. And I continued on with Sutent, and I'm still on Sutent today. So almost 9 years later, I'm on this drug that has a progression-free survival rate of 8 months, and I'm over 8 years. So it's like you said in the introduction, it's obviously the drug that was right for me. I don't know why this drug works for me versus possibly immunotherapy working better for others. That's why we need continued kidney cancer research to find out how a patient can make the right decision in the clinic.
Okay. Please describe for us your current condition as far as your kidney cancer is concerned, and what kind of treatment are you currently undergoing?
Okay. I am still on Sutent. When I first started Sutent on the clinical trial, I just look so dark. Do I look dark?
You're okay.
And I was on Sutent 50 milligrams, 4 weeks on and 2 weeks off. There's always a break when you're taking Sutent because it's a drug with a lot of side effects. And I actually dose reduced after about 2.5 years to 37.5 milligrams. It was a little better, but there's a lot of side effects, hand and foot, diarrhea, all the glorious things that a lot of people on TKIs actually have to live with. And again, like at 4 years, I had a met in my lung that I had to get radiated, but I continued on with 37.5 milligrams for another couple years. And really kind of no new growth. Everything shrunk. I have no evidence of disease at the moment. I still take the drug, but I take 25 milligrams, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. There is no protocol for that. With the drug, it's created by Pfizer, but my doctor says as long as you're steady, let's just and your quality of life is better, let's keep it at that. So I'm one of the lucky few that I'm 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. 2 weeks out of the month, I don't feel that great. I don't have any taste, have all the other issues, but 2 weeks of the month, I'm glorious, just like normal.
Wow. I understand that at the beginning of your treatment, you entered a clinical trial that emphasized immunotherapy. Can you please tell us what is meant by immunotherapy?
Yeah, the clinical trial that I entered was called the Javelin trial, and it was axitinib, which is a TKI. It's another TKI, and pembrolizumab, which, gosh, I always confuse the street name with the science name, but it's either Keytruda or Opdivo, one of those. and which would be an infusion every 2 weeks, plus the TKI axitinib, which would be a pill twice a day. I didn't get on that clinical trial. I was on Sutent, but the end point of that clinical trial ended up being better than the control arm. So both of those drugs are now FDA approved, and they're offered in combination to patients in the clinic today. So it was a good trial in the sense that the outcome of the experimental arm resulted in a new combination for kidney cancer patients. I just never benefited from it.
Okay. Approximately when did the trial start and when did it end?
It started, I was right at the very beginning of it. So I think it started in 2016 and it ended 4 or 5 years later.
Okay. And how frequently did you have to visit?
During the trial, I was getting blood work every 2 weeks. And I got MRI and CT every 6 weeks. So I was at Emory University quite a bit. I am lucky. I am about 30 minutes away from Emory. But that's why KidneyCAN is one of the big things that I always wanted to pitch with KidneyCAN is telehealth. It's the only good thing that happened from kidney cancer or from the COVID pandemic, because it's not just for rural areas. It's for people who are working and they can't take a half a day off to go to the hospital every 2 weeks, but they could take 30 minutes to get on the Zoom and have a conference with their doctor. So telehealth is very important. Traveling for clinical trials can be a burden, but if you can do it, if there is a university hospital or an NCI designated cancer center near you, I strongly urge you to take advantage of clinical trials, because you get a chance of taking a drug that is not available readily to the public yet. And it could be an outstanding drug. There's always this misnomer about clinical trials that I'm on a clinical trial because it's the last shot. No, it was my first shot. There was already a drug that worked and I'm on it. I'm still on it, but people who took that experimental arm are on it too.
Okay. You mentioned that you're still taking the student. How frequently are you monitored, and how do they go about that? How do they check how the medication's working with you?
Well, I had to monitor my blood pressure every day because Sutent can actually increase your blood pressure. So I had to keep a record of that. And then every 2 weeks, I got blood work to make sure all my things are functioning, kidneys functioning, livers functioning. And then every 6 weeks, they did scans to make sure that the tumors were actually shrinking, which they did. They all went away.
Beautiful. I read an article, and that article, by the way, is part of my research. And as the people know that follow me, this broadcast is pinned to the top of my personal Facebook page, Jim Myers, and all of my research is in the comments to that broadcast. One of the things I read in that article is that there were certain things that you thought as a kidney cancer patient you might not be able to do or you might not ever see. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I went to Dr. Google, and at the time of my diagnosis, stage 4 kidney cancer had a 5-year survival rate of 8%. My daughter was still in college. I doubted I would see her graduate. I thought I would never see her married. I thought I would completely stop traveling and I would just be sick for the next how many years. It wasn't the case. Dr. Google is not the best place for up-to-date information. The information that you will get there is likely old. And going there can just be a sucker punch and put you in a deep, dark hole. It's not the place to be. You need to talk to other patients. You need to listen to as many podcasts and folks like yourself who are sharing information that is in current terms. Because even 8 years later, the 5-year survival rate for stage 4 kidney cancer with immunotherapy is probably more like 40 or 50%. Because of new drugs, of new research, and that's only possible with getting more research funding.
When did your daughter graduate from college?
She graduated with her master's in 2016.
Okay, and I think we have some pictures of that. I'm going to show the folks later. And I know that she got married too, right?
Yeah, she got married in 2022. Still waiting for a grandbaby that does not have fur.
Okay. And I have some pictures of that as well that you sent to me. Thank you. So, and without the dog. So just that's kind of neat that you've been able to do some of these things that you thought you might not be able to do.
Yeah, and just recently we traveled to Germany and Vienna and Prague, and we just had a great time for our anniversary.
Okay, you and your husband. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's talk for a minute about the importance in your life of being able to bond with kidney cancer patients. Can you please explain why that's so important to you?
Yeah, but should I turn on a light?
You can if you want to.
It's so dark. Sorry, guys. It's probably better.
Okay, there's Deb.
Yeah. I look like just a head floating in there. So it was lighter in the room for the audience when we started. So it just got dark here in Atlanta. So your question was what?
We were talking about how important it is in your life to be able to bond with kidney cancer patients. My question was, why is that so important to you?
Shared experience. It's as simple as that. And, everybody knows somebody who passed away from cancer of some kind. But actually living it can be a little bit lonely. Even your husband, your family, your best friend, they're not living it. They're living a different version of the disease than the patient. They need to find people on that are living the same as them. Because no matter how much my husband and I talk, he's the caregiver. I'm the patient. I have different fears and a different reality than he does. Finding kidney cancer patients and talking to them and making friends with them and grabbing lunch or doing coffee and just chatting about how you're feeling is different than chatting with my husband.
Okay.
It just is.
I read recently that KidneyCAN had an event where people could come and meet and that sort of thing. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. KidneyCAN, what we do, our main goal is to accelerate cures. And how we accelerate the cures is by going to Congress, and you've been involved with it for years, Jim. Most of our meetings are virtual over Zoom, but we have a small contingency that actually goes to Washington, D.C. And we push Congress to fund kidney cancer research with dedicated funding. Kidney cancer was always slightly funded through the National Cancer Institute, but it wasn't dedicated. Congress didn't say, you're going to spend this much money. It was how the NCI just looked at applications that came in and decided where to go. And kidney cancer has been historically underfunded. But in 2017, Brian Lewis, one of the co-founders of KidneyCAN, he actually went to the Hill, went to lots of meetings, and he found a champion in New York, Representative Nita Lowey, and she supported putting a line item in through the Department of Defense for kidney cancer research funding. That was for $10 million. And people may ask why it's from the Department of Defense. Well, because veterans and active military men, women, and civilians that are living on base have a higher rate or higher incidence of kidney cancer than the general U.S. public, up to 6 times greater. We don't know why, but it's obviously affecting our military more than the average U.S. population. So that's how we got in to get this dedicated funding through the Department of Defense. Since 2017, and I joined KidneyCAN in 2018, we have increased that to $50 million a year. Unfortunately, in 2025, it and 24 other diseases in that program and the Defense Health Program were slashed to 0. So we have to get back in line and get that funding back up.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, I promise.
Okay.
What are some of the places that KidneyCAN has had these meetings where you can meet your fellow kidney cancer patients and bond with them, ask questions?
Yeah, sorry, I kind of went offline there. So in July, one of the other things that grew out of our developing this, getting this dedicated funding, is that Brian and Susan Poteet, she's on Smart Patients, a lot of people might know her, they came together and they thought, let's poll these winners who won these awards and see if they talk to each other. Well, through no fault of their own, they were not really talking to each other. They had their heads down in their labs, doing the research, the good research that they do. So we decided as an organization, KidneyCAN, let's have a summit that is gathering all these winners of all this money that we are advocating for, have them come together, collaborate, put all the smart people dedicated to kidney cancer together in one room and see what happens. So that is what happened in July. And this year was our 7th year putting that together. And this year we had 300 key opinion leaders in kidney cancer from places, France, Turkey, Brazil, England, Canada, all across the world, came together and collaborated. It was so exciting to see all these folks just sitting, eating lunch, talking and figuring out, oh, you're doing this. Oh, let me do this. It was great. That's the genesis of the Kidney Cancer Research Summit.
And some of your smart people get up and talk to some of us dumb people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We want the smart people in the room, but our job is to get the money to the smart people.
Okay. Let's talk about the Smart Patients Kidney Cancer Community. What is the Smart Patients Kidney Cancer Community?
Sure. I love Smart Patients. I support it. I'm not on it as much as I used to be on it, but every week or so I get on there and maybe make a comment. But I found Smart Patients about 6 months into my diagnosis. I wish I would have found it earlier, because there are patients and caregivers on there that probably have been in your shoes. Whether you are contemplating changing your treatment options, or contemplating radiation, or contemplating, an operation, somebody in that community has been there, done that, and will give you advice. It is a moderated forum, and that means that there's somebody kind of watching over and make sure everything stays in line, and real information is being discussed. And it's for patients and caregivers. Those are the only folks who can actually join. So there's no really doctors on there. I mean, there is one doctor on there, but he just happens to be a family practitioner that has kidney cancer. So he can be allowed on there.
Okay. So it's a place where regular folk can share information about their diagnosis and treatment and learn from the experiences of others. Would that be a fair characterization?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can ask any question. We get people who we have people like me who've been on there for close to 8 years. And then we have people who say, I was just diagnosed with kidney cancer. I'm scared. I do. So we have the whole range. Some people just kind of watch it and occasionally ask a question or make a comment. And some people are very active in it.
Okay.
It's a great community. Smartpatients.com.
All right. I read that you believe that being an educated person on kidney cancer through this Smart Patients Community group, that this has helped you make good decisions and find the best care. How important is it to you to meet other patients, both online and in person, in order to form meaningful relationships with your fellow kidney cancer patients?
Very important. I've met in Atlanta. Atlanta's a big city, obviously, but I've met a number of folks in Atlanta that I go to lunch with. We, share coffee, go have coffee, and we can chit chat. And the other thing that why I like Smart Patients is it helped me make decisions about treatments that my doctor wanted me to do, and help me educate myself. And when I say educate, I'm one of those people that kind of know the overview of things, but I get confused with the drugs names and what drug does what. I'm not a doctor. I go there and ask a question. Somebody's on that drug, and they can tell me what it did for them and how it helped them, or how it didn't help them. So education as a patient is not, to me, is not to learn everything about the science. It's to learn about the experience of being on that treatment or having that treatment, or what question should I ask my doctor? Because, in Smart Patients, somebody will always say, I wish I had known this when I was doing that. And that's what I mean by an educated patient. You can be your own advocate.
Okay. Being your own best advocate is important.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
Let's talk about the video that you made with KidneyCAN and two of your friends, Merrill and Charles, in the spring of 2022. Can you tell us a little bit about what that video is all about? And as we're talking, the link to the video is scrolling by. And
Okay.
just to remind everybody, again, that link is in my research. So if it's going by too fast now, just go to Uncle Jim's Facebook page. The broadcast is pinned to the top of the page and it's in the comments.
Okay. Yeah. Meryl and I connected via Smart Patients, and she was looking for help finding a doctor in kidney cancer in Atlanta. We connected offline. I connected her with my doctor, so she's my doctor's patient as well. I tease her all the time that I'm still his favorite patient, but you know, that's just between me and Meryl. But Meryl is originally from Philadelphia, so Charles is a Smart Patient in Philadelphia, or is it Pittsburgh? One of those P cities in Pennsylvania. And they chatted on Smart Patients, Meryl and Charles. And Charles's daughter moved to Atlanta, so he was coming here to visit his daughter and see a Braves game. So we decided, let's just hook up and get a pizza. And the reason why we made the video is because all three of us were in 3 different treatments. So Charles was on Cabo, and then he wasn't on Cabo. I was on Sutin, and Meryl was on immunotherapy. So I just thought it was interesting that 3 kidney cancer patients, stage 4, with connections to Atlanta, are sitting together, eating pizza. We have such different stories. This is an opportunity to just do an off-the-cuff video and share our completely different experiences with kidney cancer. And I think it turned out great. It was kind of fun. We had a great lunch. We sat at that table for like 3.5 hours.
Well, it's a great video, Deb.
Thanks.
Let's talk a little bit about your first connection with Brian Lewis and KidneyCAN. How did that come about?
Smart Patients, and Brian Lewis taking me and saying, you're going to do this. No, only kidding. Smart Patients, they there's obviously where there's a greater population, there's a bigger circle of kidney cancer patients. And there's a Smart Patient Z15. He's in New York City. And he said, hey, how many of you guys are in New York City? And would you guys like, if I put something together, would you like to have, maybe have a meetup at a lunch? And I was watching that conversation, and more people were adding to it. So, maybe like 20. So I called my sister who's in Boston. And I said, how about if I fly to Boston, we get on a train, we go to New York, see a show or two, but in the meantime, we go to this kidney cancer lunch. And my sister said, yeah, sounds great. So I went to Boston, we got on a train, we spent a couple days in New York and did all the things that we wanted to do in New York, which included this kidney cancer luncheon. Brian Lewis was there, and he did a 2-minute presentation about what he was doing. He was just got the $10 million. And I told him, please reach out to me if there's anything you need me to do. I'm not working right now. I'm fortunate that I have a husband who continued to work while I was going through my initial treatment. And he called me up and he said, all right, we're going to DC. Can you help me gather people? Because he knew I was active in Smart Patients. and I got most of the initial folks that went to DC. We had like 22, and I met them all through Smart Patients, and they were all willing to jump on a flight and go to DC and knock on doors. And it's grown now. Our last advocacy day in March, we had close to 200 meetings, 150 advocates. So it's grown into a semi part-time job.
And you have another meeting that you're sending us out to meet with our members of Congress that's coming up pretty soon. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. Thank you very much, Jim. Our next advocacy event is September 22nd for Washington, D.C. Though that is more of a targeted event. So if you want to go, please email me or Jim, and he will let me know. But the biggest portion of it is on our Zoom calls, and that will be on Tuesday, September 23rd. And registration is open. It's on the KidneyCAN webpage. We have a number of partners. KCA, Joey's Wings, VHL, HLRCC, and I know I'm missing a couple, but we all come together as a community, kidney cancer community. We may have different types of kidney cancer, but we all come together and we try to get as many recruits to make a few phone calls to Congress, tell our story, and just basically ask them for money. And all that money, none of that money goes to KidneyCAN. It doesn't go to any partner. It doesn't go to anybody except the people who apply for it. The doctors and the researchers get the money, not KidneyCAN or not any of our partner organizations.
This is to kind of address the issue about the lack of direct funding for kidney cancer research. Would that be a fair statement?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about direct funding, this is before the big, beautiful, ugly bill and the unbelievable cuts
Correct.
to direct funding for kidney cancer.
Correct.
And we're going to be talking
in March of 2025.
And we're going to be talking a lot about that in September.
Absolutely, because kidney cancer in the fiscal year 2024, we had $50 million, a dedicated money that was going to researchers and clinicians who applied for it, for research to find better treatments, to find cures, to find causality. And in 2025, that was cut to zero.
And I want folks to know that you guys had some success stories with this direct funding. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
One very early success story came out of the University of Alabama. His name was Dr. Smith. He developed a kind of probably would be considered now AI, but that term wasn't used back then. But he got a few $100,000 from the government to be able to develop a program that read radiology reports better than the human eye and get that information to the patient in a timely fashion. And that was a very, very early success story. It wasn't just used for kidney cancer; it's used for all types of tumors. So it's money well spent. We have Dr. David Braun, who at Yale University, he's received kidney cancer research program funding, and he is very, very close to developing a vaccine that may help determine or, thwart kidney cancer, but I could be wrong. So please don't quote me. It's very, very important research Dr. Braun is doing, but I could be wrong. And then there's the Kidney Cancer Research Consortium, which gets a big chunk of that money. And I think there's like 8 universities that work together to create clinical trials to find better drugs and better treatments for people. For example, I'm on Sudan, and lots of drugs, lots of TKIs that your audience has probably been on, causes a lot of diarrhea. I always say if the doctors were in Target and they have a bout, they would probably do better in developing that drug to get rid of that. So better treatments is another option. We have lots of research going on to figure out why do some people do better with immunotherapy and why do some people do better with TKIs. In the clinic, that is a definite piece of information the patient would need, because right now it's a shot in the dark. And, I've had 8 years of TKI and I'm doing really well. I'm kind of afraid to go to immunotherapy because I have, what if that doesn't work for me? I probably prefer to go on a different TKI. So that biomarker is needed. We need a biomarker like a PSA test for prostate cancer or a mammogram for breast cancer. We need something like that to catch it early, which has like a 90% 5-year, survival rate. Stage 4 is not so great. The prognosis is dramatically different. So we need a biomarker, some kind, blood test, a urine test, a scan that can be given to all patients who just go in to get a physical, and it's cheap, but sets the stage for an early diagnosis. And that's what that money's going for.
Well, and that particular group has also recruited a lot of young and up and coming research people. And that's helped out tremendously too.
Absolutely. A large portion of the funding is for applications for early researchers and early investigators. And we want the young blood in there. We want people to find a career in kidney cancer. And these researchers, to do their work, they need funding. And if there's no funding in kidney cancer, they'll move to a different cancer, or as what's happening right now, they move overseas because the funding was so dramatically cut.
Okay. Let's talk about that for a minute. It's my understanding there have been some recent cuts to research funding. Explain what happened and what the effect of these cuts are, and how is KidneyCAN fighting these cuts?
Okay. That's a big question. And I tease everybody that, and you said it well, I am not a high-priced Washington, D.C. lobbyist. I thought I learned everything I needed to know about how Congress worked from Schoolhouse Rock and creating a bill, but it's way more nuanced than that. But there's a thing that the congressional calendar is supposed to end on September 30th. The last 5 years, it hasn't ended then. They do what they call they can either shut the government down, or they can do a continuing resolution, a CR, which just extends government funding the way it is until Congress can get their act together and do their job. Their job is to fund the government. And last year, everybody knew there was probably going to be a CR because it's an election year. It was a intensely problematic year. But when it came time in March, when the CR was going to end, Congress decided we are going to create a continuing resolution that slashes funding to lots of things. And we're going to pass that, and we're not going to discuss FY25 anymore, which is what they did. They essentially just said, we're going to follow what the new administration wants and slash and sign it and move on to FY26, which is what they're working on now. The result is the research programs across the board were slashed, specifically the congressionally directed medical research through the Department of Defense. It was slashed 57%. That's huge. But we were hoping that when the final work came out, all the programs would all be slashed 57%, but it wasn't. The program was slashed 57%, but only 12 programs got all that money. The other 24 programs were slashed to zero. Don't know why Congress worked that way. They just did. Jim, I'm going to tell you something here too that really irritated me. It wasn't a fiscal cut. They took that money and put it someplace else in the Department of Defense. It didn't save the government any money. They just moved it. So that's even more frustrating. So what KidneyCAN and lots of KidneyCAN organizations are doing since that time in March is we are putting together a campaign called Restore the Research. And we have had advocates across the country, including yourself, reach out to their senators and representatives throughout the recess periods and have meetings with them or email them or call their office asking to restore the research to FY24 levels. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll succeed for FY26, but we're going to get some funding. And the way I look at it right now, it's better to have some funding and move up than try to move up from zero funding, because that's almost impossible. So our asks are a little different from last year, or they will be. They're not completely finalized between KidneyCAN and our partners, but it's going to be a little bit less than what we were asking for in the spring. But it's going to be some money, and I'm looking at it. It's a floor, not a ceiling. We're starting from the floor and we're going to move up toward the ceiling. We have to be realistic, yet optimistic at the same time. We're not the only program that's affected. And you know, I've heard, I don't know them, but I've heard lots of horror stories of early career scientists and researchers are leaving the country to get a job because their labs have been closed. And
Jeez.
yeah, and you know, I'm a researcher. I've been working on this project for a year. I was hoping for funding again this year, but I didn't get any funding. So now all my little test tubes and everything that I've been doing, it has to stop because there's no funding for it. So it's a halt to advancements. And technically, it's, in my opinion, it's a national security issue. We are trying to save soldiers' lives here as well, not just the U.S. population.
Okay. Let's talk about some of your experiences with meeting with your members of Congress. Can you please describe your experiences speaking to your members of Congress about KidneyCAN legislative matters?
Well, the first time I did it, I was nervous as heck. Second time, I was a little less nervous, but still nervous as heck. But it's amazing to me how open and welcoming the most offices are. And then after a while, you realize, they want to hear our stories. We are their constituents. We voted them in. And it's now kind of second nature. I'm not a very good speaker. I stumble on my words all the time, but I'm not alone in the room. There's always somebody else with me that can catch me when I fall. When we put these meetings together, nobody is alone. You're always with somebody who's an experienced advocate, and you don't need to know all the facts and figures. You just need to know we need money, and this is how kidney cancer affected my life, and I'm a constituent of yours. And
the other thing that you right. The other thing that you do, Deb, that makes you stand out, you work with other advocates with KidneyCAN, and you make them better advocates. Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience working with advocates like your Uncle Jim?
Well, Jim, you give me more credit than I probably deserve, because it's a team effort at KidneyCAN. We work together to supply all the documentations that you need. We have training for you. We're available anytime you have a question. We pull together a group of team leads that actually work in groups with the advocates in larger population areas. I know you're in Indiana. There's not a whole lot of advocates from there, but it's you and Rachel together year after year. And so, but we do supply any documents that have to be sent out to the offices ahead of time, writing up our asks. We provide some facts and figures about kidney cancer that you may want to use when you tell your story. But like I said before, you don't need to know all the facts and figures, just what affected you in your story.
Okay, and I want to give a shout out to my partner in crime, Rachel Rusma, who is a tremendous advocate, and her husband suffered from kidney cancer, and unfortunately we lost Mart. But Rachel does such a tremendous job of sharing her story. She makes my life easy here in Northwest Indiana to advocate for KidneyCAN.
Yeah, and she does, from what I understand, she does a lot of work with Judy Nicholson Foundation too.
Yes, that's true. That's true. All right, we're in the home stretch here, Deb. Do you have any final statements that you wish to make to our audience tonight before we conclude the broadcast?
No, other than I understand everybody's journey is a little different, and not everybody can advocate for various reasons, and it's hard to commit a few weeks out because we are sick. You never know what's happening, next week. But if you decide to join us to advocate, I'd greatly appreciate it. We have lots of holes in our advocacy. There are 435 representatives, and we get about, 150 representatives. I surely would love to have a representative from every district in the entire United States. I know that that's a dream of mine. But you don't have to do it alone. You won't be alone. Ask your family, friends, acquaintances, and they can join you. We have been so fortunate that last year in March, we had 55 actual clinicians join us. and Kidney Cancer Research Program awardees. They joined us. They know how important it is.
Well, and you guys do such a great job of getting us prepared and ready to talk to our members of Congress and the kind of things that need to be pitched and that sort of thing. So, just a shout out to KidneyCAN, number one in preparation.
Thank you. We try our best every day. Every year it gets a little bit better.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes our broadcast for tonight, Deb. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. Did a wonderful job. I have some things that I have to do to button up with my audience, and if the if the graphics are going to work near the end of the broadcast, that'd be great. Since they didn't work so well at the beginning, but otherwise, I'm getting ready to say goodnight to our group here. So you're free to leave.
Thank
you're
you
free
very
to
much
stay.
for the invite, Jim. Thank you very much for the opportunity to make my pitch. And sorry, I'm so dark in this room. I can't figure it out.
Must have been something I said.
Yeah. Well, good night, Jim. And I hope you continue to be on the other side of your week.
Yeah, we had a tough week. Actually, it's been a tough month. Between July and August, I've been in the hospital 3 times, twice with ulcers and once with a urinary tract infection. But I was given a lot of good medication. I'm very well taken care of. I'm still taking antibiotics, and I did get out of the hospital today in time to talk to Deb and share her with all of you. So things are looking up. So I don't want you to worry about your Uncle Jim. He's okay, and he's still got a big mouth. So
good. We want that. We need it in Indiana.
Absolutely. Too quiet here sometimes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jim.
All right. You have a good night, Devin. I appreciate you taking time.
Good night, Jim. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. All right. That concludes our broadcast for the evening. Wow. What an interesting broadcast with Deb Beyhan tonight. Covered a lot of ground. Next Friday is an off day. And we're back again Friday, August 22nd. We'll be talking to the NKF's Michael Crowley. Lots of interesting things going on with the National Kidney Foundation. And I think Mike's going to get us up to speed to what's happening. And I will be getting the broadcast replay ready as soon as we're done with the broadcast. And I'll start sharing it to all 120 plus of my Facebook groups. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and just a wonderful response. My birthday was August 3rd this past Sunday, and I must have had 500 people wish me a happy birthday, and it's overwhelming, but I just want you to know that I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the support that I've gotten while I was in the hospital. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the 22nd. Take care. Everybody have a good evening.